Chapter 1: Economic Decisions and Systems. Many people struggle to determine whether an item is a want or an actual necessity. Needs are things that are acquired in order to live. Some examples are food, clothing, water, and shelter. Wants are not a necessity to life. These items are only to add comfort and pleasure. People believe having the newest phone is a necessity, but in reality, you don't need the newest phone. People's wants and needs are unlimited. Styles are changing, so people get rid of the old items and buy new products. Style is everything to this generation. Goods and services are two very different things. Goods are things that are actual products. They are tangible, meaning they're physical products. An example of goods would be like food or clothing. A service is completely opposite from a good. A service is something intangible, meaning not a physical object. An example of a service would be getting a haircut or having your car serviced. In most cases, services satisfy people's wants rather than their needs. Goods are typically necessities to life rather than wants because they are actual physical objects that you need in order to survive. There are three main types of economic resources: human resources, capital resources, and natural resources. The first type of resource we're going to talk about is human resources. Human resources are the people who produce products such as goods and services. Food is a good example of this because farmers have to grow crops and raise livestock in order to create meals for people. Next is capital resources. Capital resources are the products and money used to make the goods and services. Capital resources include supplies, buildings, and equipment. Therefore, all equipment used on a job site is included under capital resources. So that would be the tools and the lumber that is supplied and needed in order to produce a product. The last type of resources we're going to talk about is natural. Natural resources are raw materials that are collected from nature. A few natural resources would be wood that is collected from trees, oil, and water. All economic resources are limited. The higher the demand for a product is, the higher the price, due to the fact that resources for that certain product are limited. Most of the products that we make come from natural resources, and natural resources is the most limited resource out there. The mismatch of unlimited wants and needs and limited economic resources is known as the basic economic problem. The basic economic problem results from scarcity. Scarcity affects everyone, but some people are affected by it more than others. Everyone has to make financial decisions based on scarcity, because scarcity forces you to make choices. Countries with fewer natural resources or a poor education system may not be able to produce enough products and services for their citizens. Overall, scarcity is the main problem, forcing people to make choices and decisions whether they like it or not. Economic decision-making is the process of choosing which needs and wants will be satisfied. The decision-making process helps you select the best and most satisfying alternative from among a set of choices. People make better decisions when they use a thoughtful process rather than letting their emotions lead them to a quick choice. Step 1 in the decision-making process is defining the problem. The problem must be clearly defined in order to make a decision that will hopefully lead to a satisfying solution. The second step is developing alternative solutions. It is common for you to face choices with very many alternative options. The third step is evaluating the advantages and disadvantages of each choice. The fourth step is choosing the best alternative. Select the choice that you believe will be best for you in the particular event. The fifth step is acting on your choice. Once you have made what you believe is the best decision, do what you have chosen. The last step of the decision-making process is reviewing your decision. There's 3 economic questions. The first is what goods and services will be produced. Number 2 is how will the goods and services be produced. And 3, what needs and wants will be satisfied with the goods and services produced. Countries have to decide on what products will be made due to the different types and amounts of resources, just as individuals differ in skills and abilities. Countries have to figure out the best way to produce their products. As countries develop more technology, meaning there are constantly changing equipment and tools, every country decides how to make its resources to produce the goods and services it needs. Because people's wants and needs are unlimited, many will return unmet no matter what goods and services a country picks to produce. The people making the decisions must determine which needs and wants are most critical. There are 3 main types of economic systems. An economic system is the method a country uses to answer the 3 economic questions. The first type is a command economy. In a command economy, all resources are owned and controlled by the government. The government is in charge of everything: decisions, products, and resources. The second economic system is called market economy. Market economy, the resources are owned and controlled by the people, meaning the people make all of the decisions. The last type of economic systems is traditional economy. A traditional economy is typically used in countries that are less developed. This economic system focuses primarily on the people's needs and wants. Chapter 2: Economic Activity. GDP stands for the Gross Domestic Product. This is the total value of all the final goods and services produced in a country during a single year. A big concern of the economy at the moment is the unemployment rates. This is the portion of people in the labor force who are not working but are looking for a job. The main cause of unemployment is the reduced demand for goods and services being provided. There are 7 different types of interest rates: prime, discount, T-bill, treasury bond, mortgage, corporate bond, and certificate of deposit rates. Prime rates is the rate banks make available to their best business customers, usually given to large industries. The discount rate is the rate financial institutions are charged to borrow funds for Federal Reserve banks. A T-bill rate is the yield on short-term U.S. government debt obligations. This normally is about 13 weeks. The Treasury bond rate is the yield on long-term U.S. government debt obligations of up to 30 years. The mortgage rate is the amount individuals pay to borrow for the purchase of a new home. The corporate bond rate is the cost of borrowing for large U.S. corporations. The last type of interest rate is certificate of deposit rates. This is the rate for time deposits at saving institutions. Inflation is an increase in the general level of prices. Inflation occurs when the demand for goods and services are greater than the supply. Most people think inflation is harmful because consumers have to pay higher prices for a product that they want. Inflation also causes unemployment rates to become worse. This happens when the product's price rises. The wages go up very quickly, making the payment to employees higher than the prices, forcing businesses to lay off their workers.